help you God. And I was just like, I don't agree with anything that you're saying right now. And we had an extended conversation for like an hour and 45 minutes. When I tell you Steve get on my last nerves, he's like that big brother that you can't stand, but you love him to death. Yes, so Steve is that for me, especially since I don't have any older siblings. I am the eldest, and so I'm the pain in the ass for everybody else. And so it is good, or it's nice to have somebody to, kick my ass every once in a while. And so we talked yesterday for hours and hours and hours about multitude of topics. And so I was just like, you know what? You're coming back tomorrow, and we're going to actually have the misinformation of Tayla Andre, and we could talk about all of this again. And so whenever Steve logs on is when Steve logs on, and we'll begin that conversation then. But as far as news is concerned today, first of all, yesterday, let's check in. How are you? How are you doing? How are you feeling? The sun is out. It's a nicer day. The weather is amazing. And soon it will be spring, and we don't have to wear sweaters all the damn time. And so yesterday, my car is currently in the shop, so I am carless, 100% carless. And I've been taking Lyfts and Ubers and all that good stuff. And I like being in the back seat. I like being chauffeured. I like being driven around, getting work done. I'm enjoying it. Who says having a vehicle is necessary? I just want to be in the back seat. I just want to be taken care of. I've come to that conclusion yesterday. I clearly just want to be taken care of. I have been doing everything for everybody since as long as I can remember, being the eldest, and now I am ready to retire and to be the one taken care of. Yesterday I got little to no work done because me and Steve want to shoot the ish all day, and then I went to the gym and I am sore. From my shoulders down to my ankles, I am sore, and it feels so amazing. I'm on the brink. I'm not there yet, but I'm on the brink of addiction of going to the gym. And when that happens, it's going to be a problem because I'm going to be in that every day. As far as news is concerned, there is a lot going on. 4 women of color are making military history as commanders of U.S. warship. This is huge, huge, huge. I love the era that we're currently in because these weren't the stories that were told when we were younger. These weren't the stories that were told when we were coming up. And these aren't the professions that we thought we could have in our youth. And now we are seeing that these women are holding positions that have never been held before and literally making history. So according to Naval History and Heritage Command, the first women to serve in the U.S. Navy were nurses. In recent times, more women have been making remarkable strides in typical male-dominated professions. It was reported that 4 women of color are making first-time naval history by commanding warships at the same damn time. Their service has been marked by breaking barriers and also opening doors for future military leaders who may want to follow in their footsteps. So Kimberly Jones is the commander of the USS Tortuga. Danya Simpson is the captain of the USS Carter Hall. Catherine Windlum serves as the commanding officer as the USS Oak Hills. And Christelle Okanzis is the commanding officer of the USS Whidbey Island. And so all 4 are history makers. And I am excited about, yes, baby, yes. This is what I'm talking about. These are the type of stories that we need to hear about, that we need to share, that we need to make available to our young people so that they know. And it falls in the same vein of what we discussed yesterday with Steve on and off air when he really went into depth about me hating the police and not being able to stand the police and F the police all day long. And he was just like, why F the police when you could be the police? And so we'll talk to Steve a little bit later when it comes to that. But after that conversation, I do have, what's it called? You know, when you learn something and it changes your entire understanding of a whole situation? Yes, that's what happened to me yesterday because it was just like a shift in perspective. And they've been infiltrating, long story short, they've been infiltrating all of our systems forever. The police, the fire, the court system, everything that we hate about the systems, be the system and fight it internally. And I'm just like, I see your point. And so that is the conversation and so much more, because Steve got on my nerves yesterday as far as relationships are concerned. I don't know if I even want to have that freaking conversation with him today. We'll keep it light. In other news, Greenwood, you guys remember Greenwood, the Black-owned bank that actually is going to be doing something for Black people, because we have First Republic? No, that's my bank that I actually like. One United. So One United Bank is a Black-owned bank that is owned by, they were formerly married and now they're separated. Terry, what's Terry's last name? Terry and her husband. And there's two banks here in Boston. There's one in Florida and they have one in California. And when I tell you, they do little to nothing, 13 loans. This is like internally told from an employee, 13 loans in the last 5 years. That's home loans, that's business loans, that's name it loans, small business loans, personal loans, car loans, 5 loans. 13 loans in 5 years. And so shout out to Greenwood, who prepares to offer digital banking with $40 million in funding that they currently have in place. They now supplied with $40 million from some of the nation's largest players in the financial space. Greenwood will begin to offering banking services. The rollout comes after Black banking startups launch was reportedly delayed in January due to the overwhelming demand. But the digital bank's new debut brings us closer to reality and brings them to the likes of a JP Morgan, Chase, Bank of America, Wells Fargo. Other participating investors include Visa, MasterCard, PNC, Hispanic Bank Banco. I didn't even know that was a real thing. And SoftBank. The Greenwood chairman and co-founder Ryan Glover told reports by email that the capital infusion will allow the firm to better develop a robust digital platform of banking services, starting with spending and debit accounts this summer. He added that the finance will allow Greenwood to progress into an entire suite of offerings that include loans, mortgages, investment vehicles by next year. Other features will include virtual debit card, peer-to-peer transfer, so like a Cash App type situation, mobile check deposits, and fee-free ATM usage in more than 40,000 locations. Next on the roadmap, we will begin rolling out lending, credit, and investment programs in 2022. So if you have not already signed up for Greenwood, go to the website and put your name in the hat. I think I'm number like 346,000. I'm like 500,000 numbers away, but I'm on the list and I'm excited about that. Going back to the conversation that we had yesterday, so Blue Lives Matter unless they're Black. Remember, we dug into this a little bit in the whole misinformation of Tayla Andre. Yes, so Blue Lives Matter unless they're Black. The criminal justice system continues to show African-American victims of police violence do not receive the same level of justice. And so he is a Black detective, which means he's a different Steve went into if it's a silver badge, if it's a gold badge, if they have a star, if they have a this, all that, right? And so beating a Black detective, if beating a Black detective isn't egregious enough, finding the officers not guilty is a slap in the face, right? So according to reports in the trial of 3 St. Louis officers who beat an undercover colleague, the jury deliberations ended on Monday with one of the officers being found not guilty of all the charges. Stephen Corte, who remains employed by the St. Louis Metropolitan Police Department, was acquitted of all charges. The jury found former officer Christopher Myers not guilty of the most serious charge of deprivation of rights. Jurors jurors could not reach a unanimous decision in charge of property destruction against Myers and resulting in a mistrial. Both charges against former officer Dustin Boone also ended in a mistrial. And a mistrial is nothing more from what we learned from our attorney friends. A mistrial is when we cannot agree across the board. And so if I say he's guilty and Karen say he's not guilty, it ends in a mistrial. And that's why you need to have a jury of your peers. So your peers can see where you're coming from. Is that misinformation, Steve? Green, been in the Greenwoods. Yes, VOG. That's where we're supposed to be. I will do that, Rob. I got you. Good rising, good rising. A black-owned bank down here in Alabama got caught for bad business. That's very unfortunate. Shout out to Alabama. Roll Tide. I am well. Listen, we talked a little bit about Little Nas yesterday. I think, so who said it best? I'm trying to think of the tweet that I read yesterday who said it best. I can't think of the owner, but it was just like, listen, Little Nas, Old Country Road, whatever song that one is, like that, all the little kids liked him, subscribed to him, follow him, and there was no warning, like must be 18 to view this content. And so that, however that man choose to live his life is how that man choose to live his life. Jay-Z said, what you eat don't make me ish. And so with that being said, whatever he want to do is what he want to do. But I do agree with the content that was posted yesterday as far as there should have been some type of warning. You went from having a kiddie song that is played on, what's the little Kid Bop? A kid song played on Kid Bop to literally grinding on the devil, taking back shots, like kicking the back door. I don't understand. How you gonna do that? And just the song previously that was blown up and viral was a Kid Bop song. There should have been some type of warning. There should have been some parental advisory, and it should have been some like discretion used when, like, who was on his team, who was at the table, who was a part of the conversation, because y'all failed the youth on that one. And so that, for me, I think that's where the whole conservatives, oh my God, I can't believe, I think that's really where it came from, because there was no like viewer discretion is advised. And that's exactly what should have been in place at that time. We digressed. And so Corey Bush said St. Louis police beat a black cop who was working undercover at a protest like Rodney King, and not one officer was found guilty. If an undercover cop can't get justice, how can the rest of us who have been maced, shot, beaten, and brutalized ever get justice? Period. Actually, it was a question mark, but for real, period. Blake Strode said, and please remember that there are so many other people brutalized by the same police that night. Luther Hall, hashtag Luther Hall was brutalized. Those people weren't even police officers themselves, so their attackers aren't even bothered with a trial. The only reason why this man got a trial is because he was an undercover detective at that time. The Ethical Society of Police said, we strongly disagree with the verdict today in the Detective Luther Hall case. Police officers continue to escape the consequences of their actions. The criminal justice system continues to show African-American victims of police violence we do not receive the same level of justice, period. And it's about that time for us to pay a bill. So I'll read this last article really quickly. Racial juvenile detention disparities worsened during the pandemic, a survey found. We don't need surveys. We can tell you what's going on in our communities. We can tell you what's going on with us and with our lives. All you got to, instead of spending all of these millions of dollars, all you got to do is pay the black people whom are actually directly affected by anything you're trying to uncover or study. The disparity in length of detention and eligibility for early release, such as in the case of a pandemic, is not simply about what types of offenses the youth committed, but about their skin color. And so between May of 2020 and February 1st of 2021, Black and Latino youth populations grew from 14% and grew 14 and 2% respectively. During the same period, the population of white and non-Latino decreased by 6%. And so the Annie E. Casey Foundation found white youth detention was at the second lowest in more than a year. The results collected by the foundation represented data from 144 jurisdictions in 33 states. Overall, youth detention declined 26% as compared to the year earlier. The foundation explained the data should be viewed as a snapshot instead of a national census, which means they looking for some more money to do some more research. So please give us this grant. You gotta pay attention to the language. Jurisdictions have told us that they think the longer lengths of stay in detentions are being driven by a detention population that now only contains youth with the most serious offenses in complex cases. If you remember the conversation that we had with Stephanie Siriano, the attorney, and one of the questions that I asked her was about youth detention, and she was like, nah, I don't even play with that because they want to bring all the services in like it's too complicated. All of them are too complicated, especially when you have, the father's in jail, the mother did this, she's at work all the time, so can't nobody keep an eye on a baby. The disparities in length of detention and eligibility for early release, such as a pandemic, for that, racial and ethnic groups, then jurisdictions must determine why primarily Black and Latino youth who seem to be getting stuck in these detention centers. And we're like, what are we going to do about this? 42% of boys and 35% of girls in detention are Black. Black youth only make up 14% of the population that are under the age of 18. Yet again, Prison Policy Initiative reported that 42% are Black boys. This isn't even Latino. Let's be clear. Black. And 35% are Black girls. Yet only 14% of us make up the population. So again, we don't need studies to tell you what is actually going on in our lives. But with that being said, we're going to go ahead and pay these bills. And when we come back, we got some more news. And we're going to wait for Steve for the misinformation of Tayla Andre today.
You are enjoying the miracle of radio.
New England's #1 urban Caribbean music. Radio. Spark FM.
Right now, the COVID-19 vaccines are available to millions of Americans, and soon they will be available to everyone.
This vaccine means hope. It will protect you and those you love from this dangerous and deadly disease.
I want to go back to work and I want to be able to move around.
To visit with Michelle's mom, to hug her and see her on her birthday.
You know what I'm really looking forward to is going to opening day in Texas Ranger Stadium with a full stadium.
We've lost enough people and we've suffered enough damage.
In order to get rid of this pandemic, it's important for our fellow citizens to get vaccinated.
I'm getting vaccinated because we want this pandemic to end as soon as possible.
So we urge you to get vaccinated when it's available to you.
So roll up your sleeve and do your part.
This is our shot.
Now it's up to you.
Are you tired of renting and need more of your own space? Are you getting stressful letters or calls from the bank? Does your home require expensive repairs and you just don't have the funds to fix them? Regardless of whether you want to buy or sell, Tayla Andre of Thumbprint Realty is here to help. From saving your home from foreclosure to walking you through the process of becoming a first-time homeowner, Tayla makes real estate easy. With your best interests at heart, knowledge of the market, and a passion for people, Tayla is dedicated and motivated to serve you.
Good rising, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. I am Tayla Andre, and I am determined and dedicated in assisting you in all of your real estate needs. Give me a call at 617-459-0041. Again, that number is 617-459-0041. Or you can email me at TAYLAANDRE@thumbprintrealty.com.
The People Station. What is that? Spark FM. You are now listening to Spark FM.
Good rising, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. I am Tayla Andre. Waking up with Tayla Andre has absolutely nothing to do with the time of day we link up, but about waking up your third eye with unorthodox conversations leading to universal consciousness. In other news, the CDC extended eviction moratoriums through June, helping renters recover from COVID-19 financial hit. And so here in Massachusetts, we are extremely lucky. You can't just be evicted. So we don't know what being evicted is really like unless you go to court and the judge says, you got to go. And you're like, I ain't going. And the constable comes and takes all your stuff out and puts it on the side of the street. But for the most part, in Massachusetts, you don't see stuff on the side of the road. It doesn't happen too often because in Massachusetts, we have consumer protection laws. But outside of Massachusetts, especially in the Mason-Dixon, below the Mississippi line. If you don't pay your rent on the first, you will and can find your ish on the corner on the second. It's crazy. I've seen it in Alabama with my own eyes. Like, why is all this stuff on the corner? Like, oh, they got evicted. It was a concept that was completely foreign to me living in Massachusetts and understanding like our laws are just different. And so the Center for Disease Control and Prevention extended the federal eviction moratorium, bringing rent relief to millions of renters. Here in Massachusetts, you can apply for the RAFT program. It was typically $4,000. They increased that to $10,000. So if you are a landlord or know a landlord who has tenants that are unable to pay their rent, you can get at least up to $10,000 back from the government. It literally takes 8 weeks for the entire application process. It's a pain in the butt because I'm helping one of my landlords do it now. And when I tell you like lived experience, so I filled out one document 10 times and sent it to them and sent it to the tenant and sent it to the organization. And so like 10 separate times I filled out this document, 10 separate times I sent it to the organization on top of the multiple times that I sent it to the tenant. Like is it a pain in the ass? Absolutely. Is it worth it? Yes. I've seen real money come in, real landlords get paid. And so the way that it works is that the tenant will go ahead and initiate the relief. And so the tenant goes and applies and puts in all of their information and needs a copy of the lease. And then they go ahead and connect or initiate with the owner. And while the owner is giving all of the documents, like the tax documents, copies of the lease, all of the information that says that this is my tenant and this is, they are behind on their rent. You have to have a ledger or just like proof of how much they owe you. One of the tenants owes $30,000. $30,000. Like, and the landlord can only get $10,000 for it. And so for all of those that are currently struggling, living in the state of Massachusetts, there is rent relief help. We have the federal government, the state government, as well as city funds going to help with rent relief. So if that is something that you need, hit me up on the inbox, TaylaAndre, anywhere on social media, and I'll do my best to connect you with the RAFT program. But if you go ahead and you Google the RAFT program, it's not sponsored, but it's brought to you by Metropolitan Housing Authority. So Metro Housing is over the RAFT program, but even if you don't have Section 8, even if you have BHA, regardless of who your housing is with, or even if you're market rent, because one of the tenants that were able to be approved was market rent and didn't have any voucher status, and still was able to go through Metro Housing's RAFT program. And so go ahead, look that up. If you need a little bit of help, I definitely will do the best that I can to assist you as well. As far as renting is concerned, I am a buyer's agent. So I'm a buying and a seller's agent. And so if you're looking to buy or sell real estate in Massachusetts or Georgia, 617-459-0041. In other news, yes, and yes. And so I don't know if you guys remember the interview that I did with Professor Devin Robinson out of Atlanta, Georgia, but he is responsible for, it's probably 25% now, but 20% of the Black-owned beauty supply businesses in the United States. So if it's a Black-owned beauty supply business, then 20% of those are and were established by Professor Devin Robinson. And so he is coming back. And so we are going to have another conversation with him because in Brockton, he is helping a Black woman open a Black-owned beauty supply store. I want somebody to open one here in Boston. That is not my heart's desire. That is not my heartbeat. That's not the business that I want to be in. But trust me, if you have $20,000, he will come in, set it up for you, do everything that you need to do, and we can have a Black-owned beauty supply store in the city. Yes. Okay, let's do that. But on a national level, we are celebrating the first Black-owned, woman-owned cannabis dispensary on the East Coast here in Massachusetts, opening up in Brockton. I am super excited for this sister. I do not know her, but trust and believe Vanessa Jean Baptiste is going to get an email from me today. All of my Haitian friends, if you know her, please find her and tell her I want to talk to her. So a Brockton, Massachusetts resident made history after opening the first Black woman-owned cannabis dispensary along the entire Eastern Seaboard. The 30-year-old Vanessa Jean Baptiste closed out Women's History Month by making history of her own with the official opening of her Legal Greens dispensary. It means a lot to me because we worked really hard to get to where we are, and will be open in Brockton. And to be the first fully recreational in Brockton, then to be the first woman in Massachusetts, that's pretty huge. Born and raised in the city of Brockton, Jean Baptiste, it's not Jean, it's Jean. Jean Baptiste is making herself and her community proud, all while owning a business in an industry that she is passionate about. To be able to be in business in something that I love to do it's more than work. It's passion to me. And so we are going to continue to follow her, and not just follow her, but we are going to get her on air to speak with her about her business and to get more other Black woman-owned businesses. Okay. And so I love it. I'm excited. The company's co-owner, Mark Boutique, sent out a word of encouragement to aspiring Black dispensary owners. It's possible. You can be Black and own a dispensary. Never give up. Honestly, keep fighting. Keep on chipping, even when it seems far-fetched and it seems like you're never going to get it. Continue to fight and fight for it. And it's crazy that we even have to fight for it. And his encouragement was our fight. I don't know if you guys remember the conversation that we had with former city councilor Tito Jackson, but Tito Jackson is one of the co-owners of I don't remember the name of the company, but it's located in Mattapan. And he talked to us about the financial aspects of it, $500,000 in liquid assets, like damn near $500,000 in cash you have to have. Being able to have your establishment, your brick and mortar, even when you can't do business out of the brick and mortar. So you're still paying commercial rent, which is high as hell right now, even though commercial rent should be cheap since nobody's in buildings doing anything because everyone's working from home. But I digress. I'm super excited. Congratulations, Vanessa. If you know Vanessa, or if you know somebody who know Vanessa, have her hit me up. If not, I'm a do what I do as far as stalking is concerned. I'm a great stalker. I'll find your ass in a minute. In other news, a Philadelphia woman claims police refused to help her and her 90-year-old grandmother escape from a burning home. She said that you did not rescue nobody. A Black Philadelphian woman claims she is the reason why her and her grandmother survived out of a burning house, not the local police. She said, I'm so upset with the police. And to then go on camera and lie and say you helped, you say you rescued two women, you didn't rescue nobody. And so Tammy Morris is furious. The conflicting accounts of a domestic incident that turned into a disaster took place the early mornings of March 28th. Morris said she was being held at gunpoint by her boyfriend when she called the police to her Eastwick residence. She also claimed her boyfriend was making threats to burn down the house and had pistol whipped her. The boyfriend allegedly proceeded to pour gasoline throughout the house and turn the gas stove on and lit the home on fire. That's when he said, "I'm gonna blow this ish up." And so police arrived at the 2500 block of South 71st Street around 3:30 a.m., where they found the home engulfed in flames. Inside was 56-year-old Morris and her 90-year-old grandmother. Despite the noticeable smell of gasoline and the sight of flames coming from the inside, Morris claims police refused to come inside to assist her and her grandmother to safety. Instead, police urged Morris to climb out of a second-story window. Once out of the home, she implored the police to help her grandmother. "I said, my grandmother's in there. She's 90. Go get her." They said, "We can't go in there. He's got a gun." Seeing no other option, she ran into the house and pulled her grandmother out of the front door. Mind you, they told her to come out through the second, just jump out the window. When I got to the front door, I just came out enough so I could breathe and so she could breathe. I had her head, but her body was still in the door. The cops would not come up there to help me. She said 2 passerbyers instead helped to pull out the elderly woman from the threshold. And what I'm going to tell that baby is sue. Sue for every molecule of smoke that is in your lungs. I want $17 trillion. Listen, hit them where it hurts. Unless Steve gonna come on and tell me that's misinformation, Tayla. I'm waiting for it. In other news, I am excited. So I don't know if many of you that are outside of Massachusetts will understand what a geechee is. But back in the day when I was younger, it was a derogatory term for Cape Verdeans that spoke Creole. And so being a geechee, like being a Cape Verdean geechee, is just like being an N-word, right? But the Gullah Geechees are a people who are the closest to their African descent that currently reside in the North and South Carolinas, as well as Florida and other regions as well. But they're most prominently known to be in South Carolina, off of the coast, where a lot of them reside on the islands of South Carolina and are like the inhabitants of the islands. They don't have like a close relationship to the inlands. And so the descendants of African slaves along the East Coast U.S. battle climate change, gentrification, and cultural assimilation, and they are striving to just maintain their nation as a whole. And so this is a dope article that I am going to share with everyone about the Geechees trying to save themselves. And so among the more than 100 sea islands that stretch from Georgetown, South Carolina to the Amelia Island in Florida, and about 30-mile inland is the home of the Gullah Geechee people. And they're beautiful and they have their own language. And I would love to take a road trip, boat trip to go and spend time and learn. And if I could, that would be my whole life, to just like travel the world and learn from other people. But it was a dope article to read. And they spoke about, knowing their history, knowing that they are descendants of slaves. So the first people that need to get reparations are the Gullah Geechees, because they are direct descendants of former slaves. And so I just would implore on you to do your due diligence and to read a little bit more about who we are as a people and where we come from. And we really do not know our history and won't understand our history. And I'm thinking about the conversation that we had last week with the young lady from the Native American tribe who disclosed to us that it was illegal for you to practice, for you to practice whatever it is your religion is. But here in 2021, you can only get your Native American number or be recognized as a practicing Native American if you practice what was once illegal and punishable by death. And it doesn't make sense to me. It does not make sense to me how the government was like, you cannot practice that blasphemous, whatever it is you want to call it. And now today it's like, oh, we don't recognize you unless you practice that thing that we once killed you for. Lad. So, Pharrell's cousin was the Virginia Beach shooting individual. And so Pharrell revealed that his cousin was the armed man killed by Virginia Beach police during the chaotic night of the shooting that also left Bad Girls Club reality star dead and 8 others injured. As the singer calls for justice and cops share photos of the gun. And so there's pictures of Pharrell and like tears in his eyes, completely saddened. This was my cousin. I apologize for those that lost their lives because of this. I wonder. It does make you wonder. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole right now because we have other things to read. The Biden administration announces a boost to offshore wind projects to power millions of homes, including plans to move ahead the Danish project off the coast of southern New Jersey. And so the Interior Agency is focusing on projects along Long Island and New Jersey, federal leases to be sold this year and next, formal analysis going forward for Ocean Wind project off New Jersey coast. Biden will announce a $3 trillion infrastructure program on Wednesday. And I don't know if you were listening that last week, but we discussed this about having a plan for infrastructure. This is the conversation that should have been had before he was like, I'm cutting off all oil supply. Like, my gas is super high right now. Can you please, and I have a gas guzzler of a truck. Can we please like lie? Just lie. You're really good at it. Just lie and say we are depending on oil. We love oil. I need this 242 back. This 268 is not working for me. Can we please bring it down a notch? Lie to them and tell them you're depending on oil. Because right now, the supply and demand is ridiculously high. And if we keep going at this rate, gas is going to be $4 a gallon like it was back in the day. I don't know if you remember that. California was looking at $5 a gallon. I'm not trying to recreate that process, that point in our lives. What's your need? Are we connected? A little bit. We're still live. No, we're not. But it's still streaming though. But it's not connecting. That's why this thing isn't working. If that's the case, it ain't been working for a while. Okay. Hallelujah. Nope, it's still not working. I stopped it and started it. And I restarted the computer when I got here. Okay. Well, technical difficulties. It's okay. It's okay. What's going on, Bill? I see you too. Bill, I'm gonna make you mad today because Steve is coming back. And we're gonna have a conversation with Steve. And Steve always makes me mad. But when you're right, you're right. I'm not gonna argue with you when you're right. I'm just gonna listen to you and then give my own input. And so, as far as the Biden administration coming out with the wind project in the ocean, great, good. I'm happy. Let's do that. Let's continue to do that. That's exactly what we need. But I need you to lie to the people and tell them that we're relying on oil so we can get some cheaper gas rates. Biden names his first 11 judge nominations, including the first Muslim district judge, 3 Black women, and the first Asian American woman on the D.C. Federal District Court. And so Biden released 11 diverse nominations on Tuesday Rising. The list includes, like I said, a Muslim judge, 3 Black women, and an Asian woman. He emphasized that their broad diversity of background, experience, and perspective. Ketanji Brown Jackson, the pick for the D.C. Court of Appeals, is considered a top contender for the Supreme Court. Yes, yes, yes. Zahid Qureshi, a New Jersey magistrate judge, would be the nation's first Muslim to serve on a federal district court. And Biden vowed in a campaign to appoint Black women to the Supreme Court. Yes, please. Yes, please. Because Clarence Thomas ain't said nothing in 30 years, right? Like, really, like, do your due diligence. Clarence Thomas does not talk. He just sits there. And he don't have to. For the rest of his life, he get to sit there and collect a check. He don't have to say a damn thing. And that's exactly what he's been doing for the last 30 years. And so Donald Trump won the confirmation of 220 conservative judges. And it is time. I wish we could replace their ass. I wish. Biden is a part of this $3 trillion. There's other things part of this $3 trillion that's not coming up. And let's rewind. And so we also, when we had the conversation with Ayanna Pressley, one of the questions that came in was, can you please ask Ayanna why our money is going towards gender studies or sex change studies over in Iran or Pakistan or somewhere overseas? And I was just like, I am not, like, we literally have 20 minutes with this woman. I'm not asking that question until we have a good hour set aside with her. And so, I was already skeptical. I didn't do my due diligence. And then I went down that rabbit hole and read that we are and have been sending money overseas for all types of stem cell research, for all types of sex change research, for the hormones of cisgender, this gender, that gender. And it blew my mind to out of the last stimmy that hit, less than 10% went to actual citizens. Less than 10% went to those that are actually in need. And again, let's go back to 2008 when the economy was in the toilet and everybody was talking about we are the 99%, and we didn't keep our foots on their neck, and we turned around and let them bail out the car companies and let them bail out the banks. And the real stimulus would have happened when we gave that money to the people, and it would have been over $100,000 for each head of household, and it would have been $50,000 for every single person. And so, with that being said, the misinformation of Tayla Andre featuring Mr. Wilson. Hi, Mr. Wilson.
Hi, Taylor.
How you doing? Why we can't see your face, Steve?
Because I'm working, Taylor. Taylor, did you get my text message last night to that thing you said about the research?
I was weirded. Yeah, I was very weird by that. So disclosure, let me be clear. I want to be 100% clear because I don't want nobody coming for my life. All right. And so I have people in my family that are of rainbow status. And so I don't understand the entire rainbow. I don't get the entire rainbow. I don't understand the cisgender, half gender, this gender, transgender. I don't understand it. I'm willing to listen and learn about it, but I do have my reserves, and I don't think it should be something that is pushed on young people. Now, if young people have questions, I think young people should have answers, but I do not believe that we should be Nas little X in it and just throwing it in their face and saying, here, deal with it, figure it out. That's not what I should be doing. And I think on many levels, that's exactly what's happening. Like, these kids are being like, do you want to be a boy or a girl? It's just like, I don't even understand the difference between boy and girl right now. Why are you asking me questions that I'm not going to know the answer to until X years old. And so
that's facts. So that's why I
I
just
would
sent.
also like to say is I am speaking to every mother and father that is complaining about my daughter want to wear boy clothes. I don't want her to be a boy. Uh, Taylor Andre at 37 years old still wears boy clothes. Don't nobody want to wear no tight ass jeans 24 hours a day. We like sweatpants. Hoodies are the best things that were ever made. And so I recently had a conversation with one of my siblings because I wanted to take my niece shopping and she's like, nah, she can't go shopping with you because you're going to buy her whatever she want to buy. And I'm like, what does she want me to buy? And she was like, boy clothes. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, sweatsuits. Literally, I was in a sweatsuit at the time. So I'm like, what's the problem? She want to wear boy clothes. Boy clothes do not mean that people want to change their sex. So I just want to be clear that do not come for my life because I am not transphobic, homophobic. There are some things that I don't understand. And because I don't understand them does not mean you have to attack me for them. Let's have a conversation at a later date. But the miseducation of Taylor Andre. So, Steve, yesterday we agreed to disagree on some things on air, and then we had a conversation off air. And the conversation that we had off air switched my perception of some of the things that we were discussing, i.e., being young people should be investing or looking at. We should not be F the police 24 hours a day. What we should be doing is actually joining the ranks and infiltrating just as it was once infiltrated.
Yes, I agree.
For us to begin that conversation.
Yes. Well, the conversation. Let's give some facts first about and some context before we go there, right? So, me, Taylor, I'm about my people first. I'm a student of metaphysics. So, in the perfect world that we want to think we live in, I'm all for no police, period. And I'm all about community, neighborhood, and we should be able to police ourselves, and the job itself and that organization and that industry shouldn't exist. But when you wake up in the morning, you are in the real world. And the real world we live in, it is not the fake imaginary world we think that we live in the back of our head. Last night, 14-year-old male, city of Boston resident, was seized with a firearm, 14. And remember what I told you yesterday? What's the ages? Okay, so you can go on BPD News and see that. All right, so I'm with everybody with that. But the problem by saying that and applying that to the real world, it doesn't work. Because in the real world, global white supremacy is the ruler, correct? And global white supremacy's number one security guard is law enforcement and military. Okay, we can't change that. Globally, us people of color, black, whatever you want to call us, control what? 0.5% of 1% of global wealth. That's the problem. All right. So social economics is the power, not law enforcement. So with that being said, instead of, like you said, Taylor, bashing everything, let's see how we can infiltrate, gain control, and make changes. I started the conversation saying what, Taylor? A white Irish guy polices differently than a black man from Roxbury, Mattapan, and Dorchester. Also, defunding the police means what, Taylor? If you learned something last night, defunding the police will.
Defunding the police means harming our communities and taking food out of the mouths of our black officers.
Not just black officers, black family. Because people don't understand that defund the police means the civilians that are from Roxbury, Mattapan, and Dorchester, they'll work for the BPD. See what I'm saying? Or law enforcement in Greater Boston. And feed their families of that. And all the officers we know that. What's that? I can't see it. What is it?
It was somebody made a comment about the trans life, and I posted 98% of straight men refuse to perform oral sex on a feminine penis due to their bigotry and hatred of trans women and genital-based bigotry. And I didn't understand that at all. I was just like, so are we talking
Taylor,
about clit women?
Taylor,
Like,
don't try to understand it. Because when you try to understand it, you let it in. And that's a whole nother conversation. And I can bring on Brother Salih to really break that down. He's very astute. He has more knowledge of how to break that down than I do. So, but what I want to give this information out to the public today about the misinformation about law enforcement, and also about the great careers that you can get into in law enforcement or military that can springboard you to every career. We live in Boston, Massachusetts, where a master's degree is a GED, and people with master's degrees are making $15 an hour, or working at Marshalls or TJ Maxx, and they can't get jobs because we attack things the wrong way. We refuse to be a part of law enforcement, and we also refuse to be a part of the computer industry, the engineering computers, engineers, and law enforcement. They're giving away jobs and money, and we've refused to approach that. And that's what we need to start to focus on. So let's break down. One thing I said yesterday was crazy that you didn't know: the silver and gold badge. Silver badge means what, Taylor?
silver badge means it's just a simple patrolman. Gold badge means it's a sergeant, and I don't remember the stars.
Well, a gold badge means a supervisor, not a sergeant per se. Anyone that's a sergeant or above, okay? And with that being said, the misinformation when we say these people are making $200,000-$300,000, no, patrolmen or not, these are these sergeants, lieutenants, and so forth from the good old boy network that are making this money, and we have the opportunity to do the same, but we refuse. And that's just not Boston Police, that's Transit Police, State Police, Suffolk County Sheriff's Department, and other agencies part of Greater Boston, where the opportunities are there. Boston Fire Department, all these opportunities are there. We're just knocking on the door. But then we circle back and say we can't get those positions because of Corey, right? And we have Corey reform, but there's even ways around that as well. See what I'm saying? And these are the conversations we need to have to say, start defunding the police. Let's infiltrate police and put us in the right positions to lead. Because there's another war within the department if you get in as well. And that's any department. And your son coming up is 18 years old, no Corey, smart, intelligent, handsome man. He can use that springboard to get a free education, then get a retirement package, and go anywhere on the planet he wants to. And it's very easy to do. And people, they do it. They've been doing it for generations.
So, and one of the things that you said yesterday was, a 16-year-old kid in high school knows that he's going to the academy. His cousin's going to the academy.
Yes.
His aunties, nephews,
yes.
godsons going, like all of them are going to the academy one together, and they're all going to apply in Boston. They're going to buy a house in Boston. All of them are going to live in that house, and
yes,
or at least
all that good stuff.
And then they're going to go ahead to Marshfield, Plymouth.
Yes, you see how it works. So the husband might be a police officer, the wife would be a dispatcher, and the sister and the sister-in-law will be what's the ticket thing? You know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so and for the most part, we will laugh at these positions or say what you said, fuck the police, and all the other stuff, where there's so many different ways where you don't have to wear a uniform, you don't have to be on the street. You can get into and be IT. You can get into and be community resource. I mean, there's all type of different things that you can get into.
Meter maid.
Thank you for whoever said that.
Thank you, Joe Soul.
So meter maids make great money. So these are the conversations that we're not having because they're telling us what, Taylor? Go to school and then go to college.
Good job.
Go to school, right? You get out of high school, go to college, put yourself in debt, right? Put yourself in debt, $300,000, and then what? But how about this? Get out of high school. Check this out, Taylor, and go to academy. Soon as you get the academy, that's a degree. You know what I'm saying? You can go anywhere in the country with getting out of academy of Boston Police, Boston Fire Department, or Suffolk County Sheriff's Department. You can go anywhere in the United States of America and get a job. Did you know that?
So can you please, so yesterday when we spoke, you talked about like all of the different jobs with the sheriff's department and all, you don't have to be in jail and you don't have to be in uniform, but you can still make these 6-figure
Yes.
jobs.
Yes. The sheriff department is just like Boston Police or any other law enforcement agency. They have specialized units, as they call. So like Boston Police has what we call the gang unit, what you call it, but it's not the real name. It's called the Youth Violent Strike Force. The Suffolk County Sheriff's Department and every other sheriff's department in the state has the same thing. They call it the gang unit. Then it's the investigative unit. Then it's the correctional unit. Then it's the community officer unit. Then it's the K9 unit. Then it's the MOP unit or the motorcycle unit. And we can go on and so forth, right? And guess what,
so hold on, I want to really quickly. So
yes.
One of the things that is being said in the chat, so Bill said, be trained to dislike your people. So how does one, like, let's be clear. How does one infiltrate a system that was never built, like it was built to catch you in the first place? And how do you, like, you're going through all of this training. How do you then stick to, like, to know thyself? Unless you have a strong Black family at home to keep you grounded.
Taylor, I'm answering the question, Taylor. Taylor, every job we do, and I'm glad Bill's on here. Every job we do is trained to not like ourselves. There's no job that we do, period, that is not. Okay? Public school system they train you from kindergarten to not like yourself or your family. That text message I sent you last night shows you that. That was from the Curly K through 8 school. All right. So it's the same thing in anything you do. If it's law enforcement, if it's a teaching career, that white supremacy model is in everything we do. It doesn't change. Period. Yes. I sent you that last night. Yes, I did. Okay. So now we're not talking about that, right? We're not talking about how Boston Public Schools does the same thing, so-called what we say law enforcement does, or worse. Global white supremacy is in everything we do. It's upon us to try to change it. And the way we go about it by so-called demonstrations and marches and stuff, that doesn't work. We have to learn the system that they use to fight against us and manipulate that. Or we start our own system. That's not working. So we have to do something. Yes, it's not easy. I'm not telling you it's easy. Never going to say that. And it's a whole different fight within. But you can check the research and the study about somebody from their neighborhood or from the inner city and how they police is totally different. Go on YouTube and see the thousands of Black police officers that get in the same situations white officers get into, and the outcome's totally different. There's no gun.
We just read the article about the gentleman in the police officer who was undercover at a rally, and he got his ass whooped, and he's in court, and the police officers were acquitted on all charges, even though it was an undercover police officer that they beat. It was not a hung jury. What is it when can't people agree? People can't agree.
Say it again.
Trial. It was a mistrial.
Yeah, mistrial. Taylor, it's still the same system, Taylor. I'm not saying it's perfect, but we have to. Right now, they have all these initiatives right now that we don't even know about getting us in certain positions and jobs as of today, right now. And we're not going to take that advantage to do that. Not just jobs, but businesses. And we're not applying for them. We're not asking for the grants or anything. And when that time comes, what are they going to say? What are they going to say to them? Well, it was on the website.
There's not
We,
enough of us. They
we,
don't have enough to apply. The same thing that they said about the Black Boston contractors, that they
yes,
worked, nobody wanted the jobs. They didn't have
yes,
enough people that were
yes,
interested.
yes, and that's how they get us, right? So it's like a catch-22. We want to bash the system so much, but if the system's there and we can use the system to benefit us and our family, we need to do that. Because guess what? We all live within the system. None of us live out the system. So we got to learn how the system works so we can benefit us and our family and our community. Period.
So can
Why
you
do you think?
why do you think jobs that we discussed yesterday, like all the damn jobs that you went through, and I was like, I didn't know none of these existed.
Listen, if anyone's 21 years old right now and has no Corey, even if you do have a Corey, long as the case is not guilty and you don't have anything on your story, that means your sexual offender record on Corey, Suffolk County Sheriff's Department is going to hire you. They're going to hire you. And you can get when you get out of the academy, you will get a Correctional Officer Training Academy certificate. That certificate will give you the ability to go anywhere in the country and work for the Sheriff's Department. That's one. Number two, now you have real job what, Taylor?
Security.
No, that too, but real job skills, right? And they will pay for you to go to school, Taylor. So instead of getting in so much debt to go to school, let them, you know what I'm saying, show you how to go to school, and they pay for a percentage of that. But we don't know that. Now, Sheriff Steve Tompkins is a black sheriff, right? He's doing a lot of the work that we said is not being done. He's doing it. He's giving people in our community the opportunities and jobs, right? But it got to be more of us to take those opportunities and jobs. And kudos to him for doing that. You know, there's a lot of people that look like me and you from the same neighborhoods we are that are in the Sheriff's Department in key roles, from sergeant, lieutenant, captain. And it's a beautiful thing. But we have to continue to do that. We have to continue to push the envelope. And when they say this is for black people and black communities, we need to make sure we jump on that immediately. Immediately, because they do.
So I want you to talk about the other jobs, Steve. This jobs that you went through, the whole ranking of all of these damn jobs that damn near start at $80,000.
That's if you go to the Sheriff's Department, I just named that one. Suffolk County Sheriff's Department, Google that. They're hiring right now for correctional officers. Next thing you need to do is go online, mass.gov, and apply for the civil service exam. The civil service exam doesn't even just cover law enforcement. It covers all other type of jobs. After you do that, that's key. You need to, that civil service job will cover 39 towns, cities, and towns. The next thing is the new mass police reform bill, right? That mass police reform bill has changed the game. Now you're required to do your academy plus an extra 700 hours. That's going to open the floodgates, Taylor, for people to get in law enforcement anywhere in the state with them 37 schools with that academy. That's another thing we need to get on, because there's plenty of young people out here that want to run around, that are in shape, they're athletic, former athletes, and they're not doing anything for their life. That'd be something perfect for them to get into. Plenty of money, plenty of overtime. Sheriff's Department, not just Suffolk County, Sheriff's Departments across the state are hiring. Middlesex, Plymouth, etc. Those are all a 15 to 35-minute ride from the city of Boston. Get on mass.gov, look at that civil service situation. Transit police, and you don't have to be Boston police. You can be transit police, state police. Also, Mass Trial Court is hiring for their security. Guess what? When you go to Mass Trial Court, that's through the state police. So you come out of there with a state police certified academy.
So okay, as far as your position is concerned, Steve, so regardless of whatever your title is, you're on the inside and changing the game from the inside. How you change the game from the inside when the system is still the system and there's very little that you can actually change, being an officer, not having like rank and file, like
that's not true. That's not true, Taylor. I'm changing the game right now, being on the conversation with you, telling you this information and telling people the truth and the facts. And I've been doing this for 20 years in law enforcement. That's why I'm only still an officer, because sometime when you do this, your career will be sacrificed and your head will get cut off. But I'm for my people first. It's always good to know the information, give it to the right people for the young folks to be going to the right place. I just helped somebody from my men's group, who was part of my men's group 4 years ago. He's now in the last process of the DEA. So we got him in. The DEA process is about 2 years when you get in. He's a few months out. He's going to be, working for the DEA. That's amazing, because he had no clue about the opportunity. I told him about it. He qualified for it. He had a bachelor's degree, no Corey, and he's there. So that's how you have to do it. We keep saying that if we don't have the power is who you touch. That's your power. Your power is within your community, who you touch. Anytime I see a young person that's qualified and they're in my circle, I try to touch them and say, hey, young brother, hey, young sister, these things are available. And every time I do that, those young folks surpass me and go on to do bigger and better things. That's what it's about. You get the information, each one teach one.
But you
and
just
that's the key.
Yourself that your own growth is stifled and you're only still an officer because of you.
But Taylor, I'm militant. So there's a difference between trying to change and be quiet about it, or change it and be aggressive. There's not going to be too many people on a live podcast giving out this information, telling what's really going on, telling the ins and outs. So when you do that, you know what happens after that, Taylor. And I'm okay with that. But
there's repercussions to your actions.
It's always repercussions to your actions. But I'm okay with that. You know why, Taylor? Because I do well for myself and I got other things going on. But we still have to tell the truth, give out the information, and let our folks in the community know that don't believe the hype. Don't believe the misinformation. Defund the police is going to directly affect Roxbury, Mattapan, and Dorchester in a negative way. Because when you call 911, you can say fuck the police all you want, but you expect someone to come. If that application of the resources, when they suspended that money, every time there's a shooting, there's a certain amount of thousands of dollars for a shooting to get done, for that crime scene to be investigated and done properly. But we don't know that.
Hey, everybody's on overtime.
Everybody's on overtime.
Everything's on overtime. It's after
right.
Police. We live on radio.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So I'm with it.
The police. I said, just say F the police, not the whole F the police.
Yeah, I'm sorry. F the police. No, so I apologize.
You got this.
I'm sorry, Taylor. So yes, that is an ugly situation, but there's folks that help me in my career to move about and do things and certain things or whatever. And because there was, brothers that get it. Sometimes you got to do it quietly. And some of us that are militant like myself and militant like you, Taylor. I give you an example, Taylor. You just asked me that, right? Taylor, you could be doing a lot of other things as well. You could have had a state city job or something like that, doing well, making $200,000-$300,000, but you choose not to because you choose to be out here to fight your people, fight for your people and your community and your family. So when you do that, sometimes, you're going to be affected by it.
Well, if we were to put this in actual perspective, I could be on other radio, I could be on other mediums, but
of course you could.
The way that
you could.
And I refuse to sit here and feed the same BS that everybody else is feeding. That's why I will forever be a Starkish.
Speak on it. And I refuse to do the same. Let me just say this, Taylor, what's crazy, right? 15 years ago, when I started doing all this so-called quote unquote restorative justice stuff, you don't know how I was attacked and destroyed and almost my head cut off for saying that why would you do a men's group with the worst young men in the building or in your area or in your sector? There's no coming back for them. No, that's what you are saying. I know my people and I know what he's going through because I'm from Roxbury and I understand the struggles being a young black man from Roxbury. And you got to go from Roxbury to maybe Rosendale on the train or the public transportation just to, to do something or play basketball or whatever. And then you already get labeled as a gang member because of your address. You know what I'm saying? So we know all these things that we go through being born and raised in Boston. That's why we need us in these positions to speak and fight for our people. So that's what gives me pride to say, hey, I've helped hundreds, thousands of young people maneuver through their life with phone calls and get them to the right places. And that's what it's about. And that's what brings me pride, not anything on a sheet of paper or something that's saying that, hey, you got this position or that, but helping our people. The same way you, Taylor, gave information to thousands of people, but you've brought events and people here that we only thought we could see on YouTube, not to, meet them in person and get that information and shake their hands. I love Dr. Claude Anderson, and to meet him in person and to talk to him and see his energy and feel his vibe and buy the books from him and have him sign that's amazing. And that's what it's about, Taylor. Taylor, that's about that. You know what I'm saying? That's what it's about. And I appreciate you for that. That's what we have to do. No excuses. Whoever's in your community, whoever's in your circle, whoever's in the arm reach of you is the way you make a change. That change and that young person that you make, that person can be the person to change the world. And you help that. That's what it's about.
Yo, so who Thaddeus Miles. So in the same vein of this conversation, Thaddeus Miles was putting together the FBI event or the CIA event, and people were like, yo, why would you do this? Why would you already know how the FBI, the ATF, it was one of the ABC boys that he was doing an event, and if you good rising Domingo, if you want to become one of these ABC boys, come to this event, let's get you in the system. And people are like, yo, you already know what the ABC boys do to us. Why would you put us in a position why would you have them come into our community like this? Like, you're a narc, you're an op for even putting this event together. And he's like, I don't even feel like I should have to defend myself for this because I'm trying to put us in a position where we are these things. And so I want to go back to the initial conversation or the initial question that I asked you of unless you have a Black family at home to keep you grounded, when you enter into these spaces, is the mic off? Y'all can't hear me?
No, your sound is changing, Taylor. It's bad. It's like it's echoing. You're in the water.
Okay, so we're gonna what's the name? We're gonna go ahead and give us 1 minute. Un momento, mommy. We'll be right back. Can I even play? Oh yeah, I can play it. Will it play?
Let's start with the big question.
Who are you? The all-new Spark FM.
Are you tired of renting and need more of your own space? Are you getting stressful letters or calls from the bank? Does your home require expensive repairs and you just don't have the funds to fix them? Regardless of whether you want to buy or sell, Taylor Andre of Thumbprint Realty is here to help. From saving your home from foreclosure to walking you through the process of becoming a first-time homeowner, Taylor makes real estate easy. With your best interests at heart, knowledge of the market, and a passion for people, Taylor is dedicated and motivated to serve you.
Good rising, good afternoon, good evening, or good night.
Are you tired of renting and need more of your own space? Are you getting stressful letters or calls from the bank? Does your home require expensive repairs and you just don't have the funds to fix them? Regardless of whether you want to buy or sell, Taylor Andre of Thumbprint Realty is here to help. From saving your home from foreclosure to walking you through the process of becoming a first-time homeowner, Taylor makes real estate easy. With your best interests at heart, knowledge of the market, and a passion for people, Taylor is dedicated and motivated to serve.
Good rising, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. I am Tayla Andre, and I am determined and dedicated in assisting you in all of your real estate needs. Give me a call at 617-459-0041. Again, that number is 617-459-0041. Or you can email me at TAYLAANDRE@thumbprintrealty.com.
You talk and they will hear you. Every single time.
Why are we getting killed like this?
Kyle's not here. Got caught drinking beer in the park a couple of nights ago.
Really?
Yeah. 0 tolerance. He's out for the season.
Harsh.
Hey, he knew not to drink. We've made that clear to all of our kids, right?
No, not really.
Bill, if we don't tell them what we expect and why they shouldn't drink, how are they going to know?
Talk. They hear you. For more information, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
You try.
Right now, the COVID-19 vaccines are available to millions of Americans, and soon they will be available to everyone.
This vaccine means hope. It will protect you and those you love from this dangerous and deadly disease.
I want to go back to work and I want to be able to move around.
To visit with Michelle's mom, to hug her and see her on her birthday.
You know what I'm really looking forward to is going to opening day in Texas Ranger Stadium with a full stadium.
We've lost enough people. We've suffered enough damage.
In order to get rid of this pandemic, it's important for our fellow citizens to get vaccinated.
I'm getting vaccinated because we want this pandemic to end as soon as possible.
So we urge you to get vaccinated when it's available to you.
So roll up your sleeve and do your part.
This is our shot.
Now it's up to you.
Nope. Nope.
Can you hear me now?
That's the one. That's better.
Okay, good.
The other mic's trash.
And so what we can do, hold on. Hey, Anthony, how are you? I'm well. I'm currently on air right now. You still want to buy a book? Okay. About a decade. I have one book on me today. I'll meet you wherever you want me to meet you tomorrow. Will that work for you? Friday is even better. That sounds like a plan. All right. Have a good day. Okay. Bye. For the credit letter? Yeah. So send me a text message with your email address and I'll go ahead and forward that to you and then we can link up on Monday and you'll have a copy of the book. Mm-hmm. It's not misinformation. I hope you did. But I'm going to give you a call back after the show. I just wanted to make sure that you knew I wasn't trying to ignore you. All right. Sorry, Steve. Go ahead. So I want to talk about how do you maintain your blackness when you're being taught to hate yourself? So we lose ourselves every day. Steve, a lot of people yes, the education system teaches you to hate yourself. We only learned about half of the damn 10% of all the black beautiful
Taylor,
things that we have done during February. But
Taylor, I'm trying to answer the question, Taylor.
Okay.
Taylor, and everything we do in law enforcement, there's somebody in Boston that's from the community. If it's Boston police, it's state police, trial court, etc. Right? And all those folks that are from the community try their best in their careers to make sure they look out for us. But the problem is we got too many people saying there's no way you can change it. So ignore it and leave it like it is. You only can change it by starting your own or infiltrating and make your own personal change. I'm not perfect. I've been in Dorchester court on something. And you know what got me is a former basketball referee when I was playing high school and college ball, worked in the clerk's office. Yeah, I know him. He's a good kid. You see what I'm saying? We got to stop talking about what we see in the news and what happens and run down the street with that and be the persons that activate the change. Everyone's in the comments right now got something to say. What is the solution? Give me a solution. What is the solution to it then? If y'all keep saying this is the problem, which I'm not disagreeing with. It is a problem. But if you have the opportunity to be a change in that, you should do that. Especially it's going to help you and your family. Because at the end of the day, these comments and these emotions don't pay rent, and they don't and they don't pay what you call it, your mortgage. What's that, Tell? I can't see it.
This is what. So shout out to Domingos De Rosa, who's currently oh my gosh, city councilor at large.
Yes,
Just
I know Mr. DeRosa.
captain charged in overtime fraud scheme. And that is currently what's posted online. The S. Boston Police Captain charged in an overtime fraud scheme. But what we learned yesterday off air was everything is overtime because there's
Everything.
not enough police officers. And so everybody is on overtime all of the time.
All the time. All the time. I agree. It's a scam. Mr. DeRosa is not saying nothing that's wrong. But the problem is it's a scam because there's not enough police officers and nobody wants the job. And everyone's retiring. And everyone says it sucks. And everything's F the police. So the only people that you have, how many police officers in Boston for the city of Boston? For the city that has 700,000 people, how many police officers are they? And out of those police officers, how many police officers are not us? Are you seeing where I'm going with this, Taylor?
Yes, 74%.
Okay, there you go. You see what I'm saying? So we have to do the same thing they do. They start off their family from childbirth to say we have the hold on these jobs and these industries. And when you get 18, you're going to be in the process. You can't change anybody's heart or what they are if they're, POS. I get that. I work with them every day. But the issue is we have to find a way to get us in these positions of power to change the whole situation. If we don't, we're going to continue to get the same thing. Because it ain't going to be like, oh, we're going to do a march or we're going to do this or that. And voting, that's all part of it. But another part is we have to be the ones to initiate the change. And we got to get control of these industries. And we got to do that ASAP. There will always be overtime scams and fraud because there ain't enough officers. That's always going to happen.
Gross, who is still a black man who knows all of his history, a black man who will tell you everything about all of the injustices and everything else, but still will be on the inside and won't change a damn thing.
That's not true, Taylor. I disagree. Because I work with the men and women that are on the inside, and we're all making a change and difference. And if we wasn't there, it'd be real, disgusting, and horrible. Even 10 times as worse than it is now. But the problem is we don't have enough of us to push the envelope to get the superintendent jobs, the deputy superintendent jobs. Not people that look like they're black, but people that are really black and want to fight for the community. There's the difference. Not the person that looks like us, but acts like them. See what I'm saying, Taylor?
I do.
We need the real people in those spaces. Period. Like Eddie Crispin.
Are you working on that for me?
On what? I already sent those text messages out.
Hey, thank you for being proactive. I appreciate
I already sent those. So like
the
the story of Eddie Crispin is a perfect example, but we need more Eddie Crispins, more Mamulos, President of Mamulo, fighting the fight, doing the work. Now he's deputy superintendent over internal affairs. That's how you change it. But we need more of that.
Okay, so Domingo brought up a good point. When Brenda James exposed her captain, she was fired for it and is still fighting for for justice.
And guess what? And you know why Brenda James, her beautiful self, is still fighting? Because we refuse to help her. And everyone turned their back.
Tell me what we supposed to do.
Taylor, the people that helped her? People like Domingo helped her, right? But we need the people within the department to help as well. When we need more of us in there to say, when you do help, you're not going to get your head cut off. That's a great point. He's not making a point up that's not valid. That's an excellent point. And what Brenda's going through is bullshit. But we need folks to say, hey, that's wrong, and I stand with her. Just like Salih. The Brenda James situation happens in every organization if you work in city and state, not just police. Same thing with Brother Salih. When we had the organization for Brother Salih for being fired from the fire department, there was 30 people in there. We do all this talk about this injustices, but when we have people out here fighting, then we don't come out as a community. Salih has given his life to fight for Black people in the city of Boston. And we had 30 or 40 people in there. That's the problem. That's the problem. And then how many officers are going to, sacrifice something if there's nothing to fall back on? We have to put that all into the infrastructure and speak on that. And then when we get to that point, we got to say, hey, if there's something wrong, if this person goes to Mamilo or reach out something, what is the structure inside that we can, make sure these officers are not getting their heads cut off for doing that? That's a huge problem. I'm with it. I'm with all that. I'm with all the smoke. I'm with all that, bringing it to the right people and talking. I'm a proud Mamilo member. Proud Mamilo member. But we got to get those numbers. We got to get those numbers. And shout out to Lenny, my homegirl Lenny, who was the first Black woman head of human resources for Boston Fire Department. Shout out to her. And I stay reaching out for her. And we can do some things with her too, Tayla, to give people the opportunity to, if they want to go to the Boston Fire Department like your son. Lenny's the first Black woman head of human resources for Boston Fire Department. Can't hear you. I can't hear you, Tayla. Can't hear you. Can't hear you.
Me now?
I can hear you now.
Now? My mic sound nice? No?
I can hear you now. You was going in for 3 minutes with sign language.
Okay. Yo, Steve, I want you to call 617-272-3387. One more time. 617-272-3387. Where the phone lines at?
That's me calling.
I hear you.
Your call has been forwarded to an...
Okay.
Un más.
So let me just say this too, right? No one talks about the victories of Mamulo and Detective Larry Ellison, Eddie Crispin, and the crew over there for the last 20 years of Mamulo. We always talk about, the bad stuff and the evil stuff. There's many victories with, the officers that fight for the justices of us in the community. It's just the problem is this, Tayla. It has to be more. And we have to have an army to fight the army. You know what I'm saying? It can't just be, I don't know what the Mamulo membership is now, but I know Mamulo membership is, I don't know, maybe 500 people, maybe 1,000, but that's not enough. We need more to fight. For Brenda James and Salih's and Jason Taylor's and Tom Williams and
Steve, call back now. 617-727-3887.
Taylor. I ain't calling no more.
Domingo, that was actually a question that that Bill Ray brought up, and I asked him, like, unless you have a strong black family at home to hold you down, you're forever gonna be out here messed up and turning into being a black officer with a white mind.
You know what, Taylor? I'm not gonna swear, but that's cool.
Okay, don't cuss. You can say it.
Okay, listen, Taylor. I said I'm not. I said that's cool to say that, but that's Bill's reality. That's not us out here fighting it. All right. So if that's what he says, that's fine. But when you have that attitude, then you can't make a change. Because obviously what we've been doing is not working. And there's people out here starving with master's degrees. Somebody called me last night, got 2 masters, looking for a job. You know what I'm saying? With $300,000 worth of debt. All I'm saying is there's ways around everything. You got to continue to fight. And it's not easy. And you don't need a strong black family. You need to be a strong person yourself. Strong black family at home it does wonders. Yes. You got to be a strong person. You can't be scared. You can't be scared. You can't back down. You can't waver. It's not easy. But that's what we need. We need more soldiers out there fighting the fight. Period. Instead of being outside, always having to comment how bad things are. That's great. That's good. But what are you doing to, come and fight these injustices? Because I got a Zoom tonight that I'm going to be on exposing more stuff about how black males, black heterosexual males in BPS are not wanted. And they get kicked out all day long. You see what I'm saying? And those are the fights we have to fight, period.
Domingo,
period.
Call 617-272-3387 because I'd love to have you a part of this conversation, to have 2 strong black men with strong voices who stand on the necks of the oppressors every single day. I would love to have both of you. 617-272-3387. We have the phone lines that are currently working. I don't know how I press the button for the phones. This one?
All right, that's me, Taylor.
That's Steve called. So I just took you off StreamYard and we are currently on the phones. I'm so excited. We're working and our phone lines work now. Domingo said that his interaction with black and brown officers have never been positive. Most of the time, black and brown officers stand back and let us get treated like ish. Steve, you can hear me? And now I can't hear Steve. We figuring it out. He's not in my headphones. Can you hear me now? No, I still can't hear him. Yeah, I can hear him say hello though. Six 272-3387. He's still on the line? Thank you, Steve, for not leaving. We're figuring it out. We're getting it together. Oh, I can hear him faintly. So how do I turn him up? I can hear somebody trying to call in, that little beep sound. Somebody else trying to call. And this is phone line 2. He said he had to go. Steve, I hug you. I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for all of the work that you do with our young people. Thank you for all the work that you do in community. I recognize that we're not always going to agree on some things, but I do appreciate the fact of you sitting down and walking through the process and like opening my eyes to things that I was ignorant to and emotional with. Domingos, give us a second. We're working it out so we can go ahead and pull you up through the phone lines. This is literally beta version. Like, we literally got IT in the building while we're trying to figure this out. And so if it don't work out, Domingos, in the next couple seconds, the phone lines will be up and working this week, and we'll be able to take calls and be able to interact. Domingo, you can hear me? I can hear him like he's low, low, low. Mm. How about now? I can still hear him. He's still super low. I can hear more feedback than anything. Okay. Mingos, I may not be able to hear you 100%, but the people them can hear you. I just want you to go off like you know how to. Let me see the turn it up on there so I can hear him that way. Go ahead, Domingo. Keep going. Mingo, keep going. And so I didn't hear me.